Hi everyone, welcome to Enhanced Scope Management with WSO2 API Manager 3.20. If you are familiar with API Manager product releases, you may already know that our publisher portal provides support for creating and managing scopes locally for each API. So today we will discuss what are the new improvements introduced with 3.20 release with regards to the scope management. I am Dushani Vellapilli, Senior Software Engineer from WSO2. So let's get started. In API Manager 3.20, there's a new menu for shared scopes like this. Shared scopes can be created and managed separately from API creation. The important factor is that these scopes can be shared across multiple APIs in the same tenant, unlike local scopes in previous releases. This reduces the effort of duplicating the same scope for each and every API. The management of scopes are secured by a particular product REST API scope. When the number of APIs and scopes become large, updating each API resource scope with new scope bindings will soon become a tedious and time-consuming task for API developers. So now we have improved the resource to scope binding by allowing multiple scopes to be attached to an API resource. Let's see how we can do this in a real-world scenario. I have a company named ABC who is using a HR portal to manage all sorts of HR-related operations like employee details, performance ratings, attendance, leave management, etc. These services are served by a set of backend microservices. These are some sample users residing in ABC company user store. Mainly there are 4 roles for HR admin, supervisor, manager and employee assigned to these users. The company wants to restrict the use of operations in the HR portal based on the role of each user. We can enforce this type of access control by using OAuth scopes. This is the employee profile management microservice which handles operations related to employee details. So the API for this microservice includes these operations. Note the access control applies to each resource. Viewing employee details using an employee ID can be accessed by users with any of the given 4 roles. But adding employee details is restricted only to users who are HR admins. Similarly, we have the API for employee leave management services. Now let's see how we can enforce access control for these API operations by using scopes. Here are the set of shared scopes we are going to create. After that, we can share them accordingly across these 2 APIs. First, let's go ahead and create them. As I mentioned, scope creation, update and deletion is allowed for users with a specific publisher REST API scope. You can find more about this in the official documentation. By default, these operations are allowed to the admin, so let's log into the publisher as the admin. You can see the new scopes menu at the top. Click on that and you will get this screen. Click create new scope. Let's create our first scope HR admin by providing the details. The name is the actual scope key which should be unique across the tenant. Add the role and press enter. Let's save it afterwards. So I have created management operations for supervisor and manager roles and employee operations scope for employee role in a similar manner. Now let's go ahead and check how we can share these scopes for the APIs we created. As you can see, according to our scope design, we have assigned multiple scopes for multiple operations. Well, this was not possible up until API Manager 3.10 release, but we have enhanced the product to support this from 3.20 release. Let's explore more on how we can do this. I'm going to log into Publisher portal as an API developer. Let's go to the Profile Management API and its resources. So you can see the resources we have created already. First, expand the resource and click on the Scopes drop down. You can see 2 sections named API Scopes and Shared Scopes. API scopes, in other words, are the local scopes which you can create locally for this API as similar to 310. This is the API scopes or local scopes wizard. I am not going to discuss local scopes as you may have already know about that since it's been there from early releases of API Manager. So you can see the shared scopes list we have created. Let's tick the scopes we want and check the right corner of the resource bar. Once you select the scopes, those are displayed here. Now let's add the other resource scope bindings as well. Finally, make sure to save the API. Now let's assume the ABC company is introducing a new feature to the HR portal to manage employee performance ratings as well. They have come up with this REST API design and need to protect each operation using these roles. Since they already have scopes created with these role combinations and since they are shareable, we can easily do this. It will no longer be a nightmare to create scopes with same role bindings each time you introduce a new API. From Publisher portal, you can go to the Scopes menu and check what are the usages of each scope. As you can see, this shows a descriptive view of what are the APIs and which resources of them are used in this scope. Next, I will demonstrate to you how you can consume an API by obtaining a token with a scope. Let's log into developer portal as an application developer, assuming our HR admin Harry is developing the application. Harry already has an application HR app with a key and secret and subscribe to our APIs. Let's generate a client credential token and request all the scopes we have created and assigned. Ideally, Harry should be granted with HR admin scope only. There we go, we have received a self-contained access token with only the allowed HR admin scope. Now if you go to the API and invoke an operation which Harry is allowed to, it should work. Let's see. Now let's see whether our user Paul, who's an employee, is allowed to use the add rating functionality in Employee Performance API. According to our API and scope design, Paul should not be allowed to do that. This time I'm going to obtain a token using password grant. Let's give the credentials for Paul and request all three scopes. Ideally, we should get a token only with employee scope. There we have a token with employee scope. Let's copy this token and go to the Employee Performance API and invoke the post resource for ratings. So here, as expected, we got a 403 response with a scope validation error. So from this video, we focus on how scope management features are enhanced in WSO2 API Manager 3.20 for better developer experience. Hope this was useful to you. Thank you for watching. See you next time.